Hello and welcome. In today's pick a card reading, we are asking, what do you need to hear right now? What do you need to know right now? What do you need to be reminded of right now? There are a lot of shifts happening all around us, astrologically speaking. The energy is shifting. It's doing its thing. We just had a very powerful new moon in Cancer. The nodal axis has shifted. If you would like to know what that means for you, the fact that the North Node has moved into Aries, the South Node has moved into Libra. I do have a brand new offering for a nodal shift reading on my website. You can check that out, linked below. But in today's pick a card reading, we are trying to keep it open because there are so many major shifts happening. I just want to get simple reminders for you of what you need to keep in mind at this time. What do you need to hear? So I have prepared 3 different decks for you to choose from, and I have accompanied them with some jewelry. Let's start off with group number 1. This is your brooch. There's a big old fake pearl in the middle here. This is just costume jewelry, but it is beloved and valuable to me. And then this is your deck. This is the Pulp Tarot. We just split it for you. Look at, we have the 4 cups, gives you an idea of what this deck looks like. That is group 1. And remember, we are talking about what do you need to hear? What do you need to be reminded of? What needs to be brought to your awareness? It's a very open reading. Group number 2. This is your fine piece of jewelry. We have some turquoise and some coral in the middle here. If you've seen my readings before, you may have seen some of these pieces before because I know I've used them. And then this is your deck. This is the Tarot of 1001 Nights. And this is the Emperor. I'll give you a close-up. There's so much detail in these. Beautiful. So that is group number 2. Let's put you back. And then group number 3, this is your piece of jewelry. There is some beautiful arrangement of citrine in a lovely giant pendant. And then this is your deck. This is the Mystic Mondays tarot deck. And let me cut it for you. We have the 5 of Cups. A very simple, beautiful deck. We're going to put that back. That is group 3. Whichever deck or whichever piece of jewelry is calling you the most is going to be the reading that has a message for you. Okay, so again, if you would like to book a personal reading or the nodal shift reading, my website is linked below. I will never reach out through DMs to solicit readings, so don't get scammed. Okay, I'm not going to be able to make this look as pretty or as exact as it was. We're going to have to live with that. Okay, I'm going to give you a moment to zone in or zone out, whichever you need, and then timestamps are in the description below, and I will meet you at your reading. Boop. Hi group 1, this is your reading if you chose this beautiful flower brooch. I don't know where that P came from. Maybe it's a power brooch. And the Pulp Tarot. Let's just get into it. Let's not waste any time. Let's see, what do we need to talk about? What do we need to bring our awareness to? What do you need to be reminded of? What's going on for group 1? Let's talk about it. Three of Wands. I will take both of these. We have the Hanged Man and we have the Emperor. And let me get just one more for this row and we'll see what's going on. Part of the astrological shifts that are happening are really playing out in a major way in the collective, which means that these shifts that we are experiencing are affecting all of us. And I can see that coming through in all of my collective readings. I feel like I keep kind of dancing around the same themes. I'm seeing it here already, but we will explore the nuances of it for you. Look at that. I love that. We got the Four of Wands. What's at the bottom of the deck? We have the Knight of Swords. Okay, so what I'm picking up on here is that there is a desire to move on. There is a desire to expand, but it feels like things are out of your control right now. That will not last for long. You are breaking free from whatever hesitation, whatever limitations you are facing because you choose so. This isn't something that is just going to crack open for you. This is by choice. And by choice is honestly the most delicious way to do it. That's the only way I can think of saying it right now, because with this Four of Wands right afterwards, you're going to make the deliberate choice. Look at his hand, the deliberate choice of like, I'm putting my fist down. I'm choosing to go in this direction. I'm choosing to pursue this. And that is going to give you such a boost in morale. That's going to give you such a boost in excitement. And that's really going to, you know what I'm getting? Sorry, I just noticed something has moved on my desk and I don't know how it moved. Anyways, that threw me off for a second. But you know when you're swimming lanes in a pool, how you can push yourself off the edge of the pool to give yourself some momentum to glide? That's what this Four of Wands is going to do. And so what I'm seeing overall is that you're very determined and very thoughtful in this process, especially with this Knight of Swords. There is this urgency to it, but there's also this feeling of like, I have thought about it enough, it is time to act, and I'm choosing. This is an active choice, which is beautiful. It's very empowered. Let's get some more insight. Tell me about this Three of Wands. So if you are currently struggling with this bump in the road, this Hanged Man here, that you're going to get through that or over that. Look at that, the Strength card. See, this is already a display of strength, the fact that you want to push forward, the fact that you want to move forward. This might have to do with a situation where other people don't quite understand what has gotten into them, why is this such a matter of urgency? Why does this have to happen right now? Other people might not understand. Doesn't matter. You understand. You understand because that draw, that calling is magnetic, right? And fighting against it is pointless because that magnetism is activated. Tell me about this Hanged Man. The Sun card. Yeah, see, you know that on the other side of this is this really energizing, both with this Four of Wands and the Sun card, there's this huge energetic bubble that is about to burst for you. And it's really like, it's going to motivate you. It's going to make you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's going to energize you. Did I already say that? I think I did. Tell me about this Emperor. What is this? choice that we're moving towards. Very deliberate with the cards. We like that. Tell me about this Emperor. Oh, look at that. Okay. Okay, look at that. We have two cards flip out together. We have the Ace of Cups and the Fool, and I feel they belong together, so I'm going to leave them together. So we're still going to get a card for the Four of Wands. This is interesting because this can mean a lot of different things, but ultimately what it all is going to boil down, the most common denominator here is your fulfillment. That is what's calling you, your fulfillment. And that can kind of be used, I don't know why this is coming up this way, but I'm getting the imagery of chicken stock. The way that chicken stock, or even vegetable stock, right? On its own, it's like, okay, that's literally just stock. You can use it in a million different recipes, right? And that's why it's like the most common denominator. It is the base level, is your fulfillment. You can get your fulfillment depending on where you put your intention and where you put your attention. So this can have to do with career choices. This can have to do with love choices. This can have to do with passion choices, right? Hobbies, entrepreneurship. This is anything that you are like feeling really drawn towards. That whatever the name of it is, whatever the label of it is just that. It is the label. But what it boils down to is that this is you pursuing something that fills you up and you get energized by the pursuit of it. This is like the Energizer Bunny being buddy. The Energizer Bunny being plugged in. And once you get a whiff of it, it's like a bloodhound getting a whiff of what they're searching for, and then you're off. And then you're off to the races. Tell me about this Four of Wands. This is really exciting. This is really exciting because I think you're already in the throes of being really tired of this hindrance. I don't feel like the hesitation is necessarily coming from your end. It's just that I feel like there's possibly obstacles that were in your physical reality that held you back from pursuing this, and it had to happen that way so that you had a greater understanding of your choice in the matter. Tell me about this Four of Wands. If you happen to be at the beginning stage of this spread, if you find yourself at the beginning over here where you're still just kind of contemplating, although it's doubtful because the shifts that are happening energetically speaking, we're all in the midst of it. So this is probably a very long-standing process, and I expect that you're probably more so in the center of this reading. However, if you find yourself in the beginning of this, then this reading is a confirmation of that feeling that you're getting as I'm talking, and it's resonating. That feeling, that is confirmation. And that's not confirmation because I'm telling you, oh, you need to do this and then your life's going to be that. It's your intuition is telling you that. I'm just here to confirm. That feels important for me to underline. I love this. So we have the Knight of Cups coming out underneath the Four of Wands. I love that there is, again, this momentum that we're getting, right? We're pushing ourselves away from the pool and we're gliding. However, there isn't like this immediate sense of, there's an immediate sense of energy and an immediate sense of excitement and celebration and feeling really elated, but there's not this immediate sense of accomplishment. That is something that you are working towards, which is why we have this King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck and the Knight of Cups down here. focusing their attention towards that, right? That is something you're building towards. The feeling of, I've done it, I've established it. Not only did I have the vision, I overcame my physical obstacles, I overcame self-sabotage, I overcame the, even just, you know how they say an object in motion stays in motion, and the energy expense that it takes to get an object into motion, that is not to be dismissed. And so you have expended energy to get yourself into motion, whether that is through choices or through action. There's something where you are getting the ball rolling. And so it's not just a ball, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. So once it starts rolling, it's going to get bigger, which is really exciting. This is honestly, this is really just a confirmation reading of like, yes, you are headed in the right direction. And yes, that is calling you for a reason. And you're going to feel really proud. And that's what I'm getting a lot with this Emperor, this Four of Wands, with this King of Pentacles. You're going to feel really proud of what you ultimately accomplish. However, I do want to point out that with this Ace of Cups and the Fool card here, and with the Knight of Cups, that there is an ask for you to be flexible. There is an ask for you to not feel like you have every inch of your story mapped out and planned out. Even though I feel like you have a lot of it figured out, there is a need for you to be malleable, for you to be in a position where you can work with whatever is going to come towards you, right? And not just steamroll your way through it. The other thing I want to say is that a lot of this feels very much centered around accomplishment, which is why I'm getting a lot of career vibes. I'm getting a lot of like self-sufficiency vibes, a lot of self-empowerment. However, if you are thinking about expanding or growing within love, I see that going very well as well. Going very well too. That sounds awful. There is definitely room for interpretation here for love and for perhaps even starting something that really leads to a foundation that brings in new life as well. Okay, now let me roll my dice. We have the 7th house, see, and right as I said that there's definitely room for love here. The 7th house is the house of relationships. And then we have Mercury and we have Leo. Actually, I like to do them this way. House, sign, planet. Okay. So the 7th house is the house of relationships, but it's also the house of business partnerships. It is anywhere where we basically come into contract with other people. So this can still be about business, but also just in general about how you interact with the world around you, right? Leo, that is a lot of confidence, and that is that energetic boost that we're getting over here with the Strength card, the Sun card. That is what's underneath this. That's what's underneath the surface, and that is a lot of gusto. That's the only way I can say it right now. It is a lot of gusto. It is a lot of guts. Quite literally, because Leo energy, yellow, is solar plexus energy. That is your gut. That is your confidence. And then Mercury, Mercury is the planet of communication and thought processes. So this is you stepping into action on a daily basis, on a basis of all right, I have thought this through. Now this is what we do, right? This is giving. This combination is giving, entering into contract with excitement, quite literally. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, especially for some reason with this pearl. I wouldn't be surprised if this is somebody actually considering quite literally marriage. And it feels a little bit scary, and there are some like doubts, but natural doubts, not doubts within the relationship, but doubts within, like, you know, the concept of it all. And I'm seeing there's a shift happening around that, where it's like, okay, we're ready to build something of importance. Okay, now let's see, what kind of oracle cards do we want to use today? I want to keep it short and juicy, so you know what, we're just gonna stick, we're not gonna go too dark, so we're gonna try and stay with these decks. Can we get, let me if you've watched group 1 before, you know that group 1 is where we figure out the game plan for this, because I like to go with the flow. Okay, we're going to pull an archetype card on what to embrace as you move through this shift, which to me honestly looks like a huge shift for you, but at the same time it looks like a shift that you have initiated a long time ago, and this is like the follow through, and there's a lot of confidence and empowerment ahead of you. You're confidently making a choice towards a direction that is going to fulfill you and feel safe. Whoa. Look at that. Yes, this is so cute. I don't know why I said cute, but we have hero, heroine. It says passion for a journey of personal empowerment. I mean, that's quite literally what I just said, right? That's exactly it. Like, I do see, I mean, look at this lady right here. She's set in some kind of dystopian world and has like a spacesuit and whatnot, but still, like, look at this backpack, and then look at the imagery here of these people climbing the mountain peak with their little backpacks, right? It's the idea of getting a thrill out of conquering this, and that is going to give you, right, when people, actually that's Rope I just saw, he's wearing a backpack. When you get to the mountaintop, that thrill that you get, that rush of adrenaline of like, I've accomplished this, that's really something exciting to look forward to for you. So hero, heroine is the energy that they want you to embrace in order to get through this, and that is the belief, the knowledge, the innate knowledge that you can make it through, that you can do this, that this is not something that is going to this is not something that's going to be the end of you. This is not something that you're going to fail at. This is something that you are going to have the determination to move through. Okay, now let's get some from this deck for group 1. Any last advice or insights for group 1? I'm really excited for you. I want some of this. Honestly, I'm not a caffeine drinker. I don't drink coffee. I fucking knew it. I knew that. When I just said innate knowledge, I saw this card in my mind. I knew it was going to come out. I'm sorry for cursing, but I love when that happens. Innate knowledge. Innate knowledge. And then portal. See, you're already, you're not just at the door is already open. That's really exciting. This is really exciting. I'm not a coffee drinker, but this reading feels like pure caffeine. This feels like, you know, doing a shot of 5-hour energy. This is what this feels like. Look at all the yellows and the orange, this innate knowledge, like a moth to a flame. There's something that is calling you. Trust yourself. This is something that is calling you into contract. So whether that is a contract in marriage, whether that is a contract in business, whether that is you signing with a company, whether that is you signing a loan to create your own company, I feel like I see you really taking a bold step forward. This is a 33, by the way. It's kind of hard to see. Taking a bold step forward and really being energized by your own boldness. And that is like such a, that is just such a, I don't know how it's pronounced in English, perpetuum mobile. Let me just see what the actual definition of that is, because that came up earlier and I felt too shy to say it. But that's totally what came up. This is coming up. So it's a term that is used in music, whole pieces or large parts of pieces which are to be played repeatedly, often an indefinite number of times. The way that I'm remembering it though is I'm remembering it from physics class. How the idea of a perpetuum mobile was the idea of an invention that can power itself. Let me see if I can get... A perpetual motion machine is a hypothetical, okay, that's how it's in another language, it's called perpetuum mobile. Perpetual motion machine is a hypothetical machine that can do work indefinitely without an external energy source. That's the energy that I'm getting here. You are getting high off your own supply, okay? And that's beautiful. Now, I want to get one last oracle card for you, and this one we're going to read from the booklet. This is so exciting. If this resonates, please let me know in the comments, because I'm really excited for you. This is so, I mean, this is a dream reading to get. Like, I want to get a reading like this. One last oracle card for group 1. This feels like a gold star reading for you. Whoop. Day and night. Ooh. The sun is rising. Okay, let's read it. That is number 1. Of course it is number 1, because this is group number 1. Okay, it says, uncertainty, fear, worries, decisions to be made, follow your instincts. I mean, that's literally the headlines here, right? It says, the girl we see on this card is holding the sun in her hands, absolutely, while the moon is at her back. She looks uncertain, as if she has a question in mind but does not know the answer. What is she thinking about? Is she afraid of the answer or the inward process to find it? Many of us struggle with making decisions, but where there is shadow, there is also light. After a dark night, there is always the light of the morning sun, warming the path we have chosen. This card reminds us that we already hold all the answers in our hands. We should trust our inner judgment and know we will be able to handle any situation. That is exactly what I was talking about. Innate knowledge, you already have the answer. I really feel that for a lot of you, this is about truly committing yourself to yourself, truly committing yourself to a partner, truly committing yourself to a business partner. This is true, utter, energetic commitment, and I love that. So cool. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for hanging out. I really hope it resonates. Let me know, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi group 2, this is your reading if you chose this lovely pendant with the turquoise and the coral red button. Wish you could push it like a little, like if it had like a little honking noise. That would be so annoying. I would push it all the time. Okay, and we're gonna get right into it. Let's talk about it. What do we need to bring to your awareness? What do you need to be reminded of? What do you need to hear? What does Spirit want to share? For group 2, what's going on? I'm just hearing there's this TikTok sound where this guy is like yelling and he goes, a healthy reminder. I don't even know how the rest goes, but that's what I'm hearing. A healthy reminder. Oh, it's the audio where someone says, this one strutted the runway so that Peppa could run. A healthy reminder. Sorry, it's just stuck on the loop. Okay, first card out is the 5 of Swords. Let's talk about it. What's going on? Ooh, I knew this card was going to come out. I've been really on that kick lately. Lately, I've been seeing the cards before they came out and before they come out. And specifically with this, when I'm choosing decks, I see the cards before, because I choose decks intuitively, and I knew this card wanted to come out. Which is, this card is titled Danger, which in this deck, it is a different version of the Tower. Something unfinished is looming over you. Oh, that sounds looming in itself. Sorry, I'm just delivering what's coming through, but something unfinished is looming over you. We have the Page of Wands. Oh, if you're having a hard time trying to find the motivation to deal with it. It's like you've kind of removed yourself from it, and dealing with it feels like having to actually insert yourself again, and that's kind of, it feels oppressive. Oppressive, not in the sense of like, oppressive in the way that humidity feels oppressive. It just feels heavy, you know, it just feels like unavoidable. Humidity, when it's like a really humid, hot summer day where it's like you can't really escape it. And so what do? We go inside where there is AC. We try to get away from the heat by removing ourselves. And that's what it seems like you've done. You've removed yourself from something oppressive. It was too much to deal with at the time. And so you're like, literally that, not even any words, just like, don't want to think about it, don't want to deal with it, just give me away, get me out of here. I'm still hearing though, a healthy reminder. I think that audio is coming through because the idea of so-and-so walked so that so-and-so could run, I almost feel like both of those so-and-sos are you. It's like you walked so that at some other point in time with oh no, you have to walk. Oh, okay. I'm getting an image. I'm getting an image of fighting your way through, specifically connecting to this image and this image here. This is the Knight of Cups and we have the King of Cups here. Okay. It's becoming very clear. I'm getting an imagery of like fighting through a really thick jungle and having like a machete and having to really fight your way through it. And that has to be done deliberately. That has to be done slowly. You cannot run through a path that has not been created, right? You have to create a path so that a future version of yourself can run, can actually make movement forwards. And the way that this is coming through is that this is something that you've emotionally set aside because you didn't want to deal with it. And it's going to come back up because it's healthier, better, and more aligned for you to deal with it bit by bit now than to make the same mistakes again. Specifically, this is very closely tied to your emotions, to your emotional landscape. So whether that is, it feels like you had some kind of falling out either with yourself or with someone else, right? So this could be kind of like the untangling of an ending relationship, and you really were like, this is too much for me to kind of process at this time, so I'm just going to distract myself. But the more you've distracted yourself, the more difficult it is to return back to the work. However, the emotional labor of having to process something, the emotional labor of having to, I'm seeing a lot of compartmentalizing here, and that decompartmentalizing, the actual act of being like, okay, let me open up all these drawers and take everything out, Trust me. Trust me. I'm the kind of person that when I clean up, I put stuff in drawers. I put stuff in closets. And then, you know, every now and then I have a deep cleaning session where I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with the consequences of those actions of where I made it easier on myself in the past. And now I have to clean up this random collection of things because I just stuffed everything in the closet when I didn't feel like dealing with it, right? And that's what I'm seeing happening, or that's what I'm seeing is necessary, but I am seeing you doing it. I am seeing you getting to the point that even though you're kind of like, I guess you're gonna do it because we have this King of Cups, right? This Knight of Cups down here at the bottom of the deck is really just kind of like the initial motivation of like, all right, let's get through this jungle. I know these cards are super detailed, so I'm gonna just run through them right quick to give you a close-up because they are beautiful, but I know that it can be difficult to kind of make out what's going on these cards. This is the Five of Swords, which again to me indicates that there's some kind of battle that was left behind, some things that, you know, were mentally and really kind of within communication, right? The swords represent communication. It was just, you know, maybe some ugly words were spoken, maybe some things were said that were too difficult to deal with. And it just felt really overwhelming with this card here. Look at this is you, and this is the idea of having to deal with all of that. It's so overwhelming. And then this is the Page of Wands, removing himself from the action that is happening in the city. I don't know why I said it like that. But still also a way to find motivation to connect again. Connect the dots specifically is what I'm hearing. And in here we have the King of Cups in his lavish, I don't even know if that qualifies as a living room, in his lavish palace, let's put it that way. And let me show you a close-up of the Knight of Cups in the thick of it. Okay, now let's get some more context. Tell me about this Five of Swords. We have the Emperor. Yeah, this may have to do with you having set a boundary, let's focus. There we go. This may have to do with you having set a boundary, and perhaps even this could definitely have to do with a situation that you left behind in a very, very, like, harsh way. So this could have to do with a situation where you stopped talking to someone. You could have ghosted someone as a matter of your own protection, or somebody could have ghosted you, and it left you being unable to resolve this, right? Feeling like, well, if they're not communicating with me, then I can't resolve this. Where you're slowly finding a path to resolve this, whether it is with someone or without, you're figuring out how to do it on your own, really. Tell me about this Danger card. We have the Three of Wands. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Because I'm not picking sides here, absolutely not, but I definitely see that there was some kind of conflict. And remember I said in the beginning that this could also have been an internal conflict between you and yourself, right? In any case, it had to do with control. It had to do with who gets to set which boundaries. I think it's interesting that the Three of Wands is coming out with the Danger card, because to me that indicates a certain level of fear. There was a lot of avoidant energy because there was a fear of getting too far away from something, but therefore you actually avoided it and you got a certain distance to it. That is so interesting. It's like trying to avoid dealing with something because you don't want to give it up, almost like you don't want to give up an unhealthy habit, or you don't want to face the facts that a habit that you have is unhealthy, and so you kind of avoid it, and then thereby are actually avoiding the true understanding of it. Like there's something where you are definitely there's no judgment in you having avoided facing this problem head on, but the avoidance was definitely rooted in fear of learning or understanding, expansion. It was a fear around, who am I without this in some way? Who am I without this? Who is a new version of me? So this could have to do with dropping a habit, dropping a person, right? If this was a conflict between you and yourself, then this is about setting a boundary of, this is a habit that doesn't support us anymore and we need to release it. And that can be so many things, right? Unhealthy habits don't always have to be unhealthy for everyone. They could just be unhealthy for you. That could have to do with checking your ex's social media. That could have to do with eating in a unregulated way. That could have to do with quite literally substance abuse. So there's a lot of ways, and there's a very large spectrum of unhealthy habits that we hold on to for comfort. Not all of them are addictive behaviors. They can just be, this is a habit that doesn't make me feel good, right? It doesn't have to be as severe as a addictive behavior. It could just be a pattern that just doesn't make you feel good. So that pattern could also closely be tied to another person. So that's why this feels like a breakup. And it's either a breakup between you and another person, or you and something that you felt like isn't healthy for you anymore. And so that kind of also creates this kind of splitting off of a version of yourself that is the older version that was still very much satisfied within that unhealthy dynamic. And then there is the new version of yourself that is like, no, 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 we need to change, we need to grow. And that can be very scary. And so I do feel like, whether this was a conflict between you and another person, I do feel like that internally there is a splitting off that happened within you, where it's like part of you wants to grow and evolve and move forward and integrate this experience in a healthy way, and part of you just kind of wants to stay still, because change is very scary. And you'd rather hold on to where you were at because it just feels safer. Tell me about this Page of Wands. We have the Nine of Pentacles, and I love that because this indicates that ultimately this doesn't, even though there is a hesitation, even though there was a time period or is a time period of avoidance, ultimately it doesn't, you don't completely miss your exit, right? Let's say that avoidance is you're driving on a freeway and there's your exit and you're like, no, I'm not ready to get off the freeway yet. I'm just not ready. So you miss that exit. Well, you know what? There's another exit coming up, and there's another exit coming up, and there's another exit coming up, and you can always take the next exit, just turn around, get back on the freeway in the other direction and go back. Yeah, you're backtracking a little bit, but it also gives you a sense of familiarity because it kind of gives you an insight of the landscape, right? And that's what I'm picking up on here emotionally. This journey isn't You may have taken the long road, but it still was an informative road. It is still a road that really kind of helped you do this. And I think that's really important, right? Because we might feel kind of silly for taking the long road sometimes. Like, why did it take me so long to process this? Why did it take me so long to accept this breakup or this I keep getting the word chasm, but I'm not very comfortable with that word, as in I don't use it a lot, so I'm not. But I keep getting this idea of a chasm, like something breaking apart, a splintering, right? And so there's this idea of that took me off my track. Sorry. Let me keep going. But this Nine of Pentacles is really talking about that your sense of accomplishment and your sense of self-worth is really what's going to drive you to be like, all right, let's get off this freeway. Let's just take the next exit and we'll go back because I'm worth retracing my steps, right? It's worth the time. That's where I was. Yes, I've taken the long road, but the long road was not the wrong road. Ooh, that sounds so corny, but so good. You took the long road, but it was not the wrong road. Tell me about this King of Cups. You did whatever you had to do to process this, whatever it was. Look at the Ace of Pentacles. Yes, you're going to see the point in this. You're going to, oh, I love this. You're going to see the worth in having done this. You're going to, this is really kind of getting back to your, and look at this card at the bottom of the deck. I was already going, okay, sorry, I get excited. I was already going to finish my sentence saying you're going to get back to harmony, and I just realized this card is actually labeled harmony. I think it's supposed to be like the Temperance card, right? This card is labeled harmony. And I love that because that's exactly what I felt when I was looking at this card as it came out, this Ace of Pentacles, is like, there's gonna be this sense of peace of like, you know what, like, yeah, it was awful and yeah, I avoided it for a long time, but I didn't, I did what I had to do to get through it, and I didn't do anything wrong. Now, that's not to say that whatever kind of situation, whatever kind of conflict you're processing, I'm not saying that you didn't do anything wrong in terms of that, but in terms of how you're dealing with this, you didn't do anything wrong by avoiding it. You know, a lot of times there are certain things that we have to do and we avoid them because we feel this sense of dread around them. And then sometimes, you know, it's like making a certain phone call or an appointment at the dentist, and that's just a metaphor, but it's like, I'm dreading this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And then when you do it, it's like, oh, that took like 2 minutes, that was so easy, why didn't I do this sooner? And that can make you feel kind of childish or silly sometimes in retrospect, but in retrospect, everything makes sense. In retrospect, everything is easier. So give yourself some compassion for that, no matter where you're at within this journey, because whether you're still over here or whether you're somewhere towards the end of this and you have, and this is a reading confirming, like, you know what, you've made it through this, through the thick. This is a reading that's confirming that you followed your journey the way you were supposed to, right? You are going to follow your journey the way you're supposed to. And so don't shame yourself or don't judge yourself for taking the long road, right? Because ultimately, if you had done it any differently, who's to say that you would have ended up here, which is a beautiful energy. The King of Cups with the Ace of Pentacles, that is a renewed hope in self-sufficiency around emotions, in being able to self-regulate your emotions. And with the Harmony card, it's just we're getting back to like emotional peace after a time of a lot of emotional disturbance and a lot of sort of avoidance in trying to regulate your emotions. You're getting back to a place of like, no, I'm really worth putting in the effort, putting in the extra mile and really taking care of my emotional state is really a top priority because it bleeds into everything. Oof, okay. Oh my goodness, I got carried away a little bit. Let's keep it moving. See, I took the long road there. I missed my exit, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Look at that. We have the 10th house. I love that. The 10th house is the highest point of your chart. It is where you shine. It is where you feel accomplished. That can be career. It doesn't have to be though. But the 10th house does often correlate to where you feel fulfilled in a career aspect. So this can have to do with, you know, taking the long road in terms of leaving a job, deciding to do something on your own, and really kind of coming back to something. It could have to do with you having tried something and feeling like it failed and really feeling like you had to return to something else. But ultimately what's really important is your emotional balance. So whatever it was that was really overwhelming and really kind of perhaps even expansive too quickly, especially because we have the 10th house, we have Aries energy, and we have Mercury, and Aries energy is cardinal energy. It's very headstrong, especially with this Emperor. That's the same energy. It's very headstrong and it's very determined, and so that kind of determinism can sometimes like you can have this sense of determinism, but it can almost steamroll you in a way where it's difficult to funnel it in a productive way, right? So this can very well have to do with career, but this can also have to do, especially because we're talking about unhealthy habits, this can have to do with the way that other people perceive you, right? So you may have had some kind of tendencies towards an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy habit, and the idea of splitting off from that creates this narrative of like, oh, now I have to be a completely different person that is more healed, that is more healthy, that is more conscious, and that seems like a lot of responsibility, and that could have felt like just too much expectations from the outside world as well. And so you took the long road because that was the road that was going to get you through this, okay? So don't judge yourself for your path looking differently than someone else's path. Very important. Mercury, this is all about how you also communicate with yourself. How do you talk to yourself? How do you talk and how do you respond to your emotions? All right, now let's get you some oracle cards. I'm going to get one archetype card, and this is going to be what aspect Spirit wants you to embrace to help you move through this in the most efficient way. How to move through this. For group 2, what should they embrace most during this transition? Oh, we got one. Oh, I love this. We have Poet. Express soul insights in symbolic language. Now, you cannot be a poet or write poetry if you don't want to claim all of that at once. You cannot write poetry by completely turning off your emotions, right? Writing, an important aspect of writing in general is structure. Very important. But imagine a poem that is just structure and no feelings. That is not a poem. That is not poetry. That is not how it works, right? This is a return to you being able to funnel your emotions, being able to work with your emotions, and to use them in a way that energizes you and that motivates you, right? We're getting back to harmony. We're getting back to the sweetness of life. That's the other thing, that poets are the people that get to notice the nuances, the sweetness of life. I'm seeing that here with this Ace of Pentacles. You're getting back to that. When we are in the thick of it, when we are in our darkest place, yeah, poetry can be very cathartic, but it can also can be really difficult to put things on paper, right? You're getting back to a point where whether you are a poet or not, this is it's an analogy. You're getting to a point where you can make sense and build with your emotions again, versus before you avoided them. Beautiful. So that is something to embrace. So something to embrace as you move through this journey is to take notes, you know, even if you feel like, oh, I am definitely not a poet, write down things in, especially because we got Mercury coming out, right? Oh my goodness, that is Venus. Why was I talking about Mercury? That is Venus. So definitely this can have to do with self-love as well, especially with this combination, self-love. Venus is also about to go retrograde in Leo. So that is very much the energy of taking the long road for good reason. So yes, why did I see Mercury there? Now, let's get you an oracle card for group 2. Any last advice or insight? We have blessings. Oh, I love this, especially coming out on this side. It feels like there's a certain kind of balance being restored in your life. And specifically because I was just corrected and recognized that this was actually Venus, blessings in this deck always comes in pairs, which of course is always reminiscent of love. So again, if this was a breakup, I do see you being able to kind of process whatever it is that happened, process it and integrate the lessons from it in a way where you get to a place of emotional harmony, and that allows in healthy, new, exciting relationships to come in, right? Going back to recognizing the beauty in life, right? So wherever you are on this journey, whether you are at the beginning and you're still going through the darkness, this is a confirmation that there is reason to this long journey, and you may avoid it for now because it's too much to deal with at this point in time. It will return. And it will return in a way where you will feel more empowered and more equipped to face it head on. So if you don't feel like you're in that space right now, that's okay. You will get there. Okay, one last oracle card, and this one we are going to read from the booklet. For group 2, one last oracle card. All is connected. See, this is so cute. This is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of, like, even if you take the long road, you were meant to take the long road. You're not cheating yourself out of anything. All is connected. Innovation, transformation, growth, and release. It says, a girl sits on a tree trunk and holds leaves in her hands while others blow away in the wind. A small spider holds a few leaves together with his fine filament, even though the wind threatens to tear them apart. Don't be afraid of changes. Release your fear by letting go. Change is hard and often painful, but it is the only way to grow. That is exactly the fear that we saw here with the Danger card and the Three of Wands. That was that fear of growth, fear of change. You may drift, but you will never lose yourself. Life goes on and nothing ends. It is reshaped into something new by the wind. No better or worse, but different. And in that change lies wonder and openings. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps. Especially because as I was reading that, I could just think of these energies here of, like, you know, when we have to say goodbye to something, when we have to, like, set, especially through setting a boundary, it can be really difficult to see a vision of yourself being fulfilled again, a vision of yourself being in harmony, being happy and fulfilled without that part of you. This is a confirmation that, you know, that part is not gone. It is just being reshaped. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope that it resonated. Let me know in the comments how this made you feel. And other than that, I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose the citrine flower pendant and the Mystic Mondays Tarot. We're going to get right into it. So let's talk about it. What do we need to bring our awareness to? What do you need to be reminded of? What's going on? Let's just see what you need to hear. For Group 3, let's talk about it. We have the Seven of Wands. Immediately what I'm getting is, obviously the Seven of Wands is a card of overcoming obstacles, but what's coming through for some reason is beating out competition. Trying to beat out competition. I just wonder in how far you're comparing yourself to competition. That one. We have the Princess of Wands, which is the Page of Wands. We have the Temperance card. Okay, very much focused on balance, especially because I was already thinking that with this Princess of Wands, and then we have the Temperance card coming out, but also indicating that there are other things at play. And then we have the Moon. Yep, there are other things at play. This is interesting. This is a very kind of secretive message, it feels like. Something is in the works. I can sense it, and so can you. Look at the Strength card at the bottom of the deck. And I look up and we're completely crooked. You never understand it. I look straight on the table and then I look up and nope, not at all. Okay. I honestly feel like this could have to do with trying to get a job or trying to receive some kind of accolades, trying to stomp out some kind of competition. And there's something about you that is very brazen is the word that I'm hearing. With this Princess of Wands, it feels brazen. It feels, and I'm not very comfortable with that word, as in I don't really know it. That happened a couple times today. There's all these random words that I don't typically use that are coming through. But there's something about you that is uncanny, brazen and uncanny. Something about you is very charming. There's a lot coming through specifically with this Princess of Wands about your demeanor. Something about you catches people off guard, and that makes you stand out. But there's also, I can tell there's something that you really want. I keep saying something, because it's really difficult for me to kind of see how this is going to play out for you. And it's going to be different for a lot of people, because for some of you, this feels like a job interview process. And there are things within this process that are out of your control. And it's just a matter of sticking to your confidence and your belief in yourself. For others of you, this has to do, if not like a job interview, then this has to do with you trying to stand out in a very specific arena, in a very specific market, right? So whether that is that you are, you have a small business and you're trying to market yourself on social media, something like that. Let me keep going. I wanna see what's going on this back end. This back end is very mysterious because it feels very much like I don't know, it just feels very like, oh, you don't even know what's coming. And I'm like, well, I want to know. I want to know what's coming. I am snooping. Tell me about the Seven of Wands. We have the Judgment card. Yeah, you are definitely trying to appeal to someone's judgment. This has to do with some kind of, that's why I was getting job interview, because you're trying to make your case. This could even quite literally have to do with some kind of court case. But still, I'm getting that you would not be the typical, in some way, you are not the typical person that somebody would see in the job role that you're applying to, or they would not see you as, and that's not to say that you're not fit or not qualified, but there's just something about you that's very different and it stands out, and that gets you attention, but at the same time, it also, you know, not all attention is good attention, but that doesn't mean make yourself smaller, not at all. But there's just something very interesting about here. There's something very interesting here about some kind of leverage where something about you are able to use as leverage, but there's this, I'm gonna get more cards, but this almost feels like there's something that you're not aware of, where whoever you're trying to appeal to is able to see a different kind of leverage that they can get through you. Okay, this is going to be so different for lots of people, but specifically the way that this is coming through is the storyline that I'm getting almost feels like you are applying for a certain position that is very visible. So this could be like a brand ambassador or something like that, where it's like you would be very visible. And the reason that this company or brand is interested in you is because you have a certain attitude, or you have a certain look, or you have a certain something, and that works in your favor. But I wonder if it works even more in their favor. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's almost like where you think you're getting kind of excited because you think you're getting a good deal, I think it's more so that they're getting an even better deal. So be aware of your worth, because you're very unique. And you're very authentic, it feels. Your energy feels very authentic and very straightforward. And I feel like because of that, I almost get the sense of like I need to protect you in some way, because it's like you're so straightforward that you probably think everybody is that straightforward. And in reality, there's people that are, you know, straightforward in your face, but the minute that you're out the door, it's a different story. So that's just something to be aware of, because right now in this position, what I'm looking at is you trying to prove yourself, but don't put on blinders to the idea of you're the only one that has to prove themselves. Whoever you feel like has that position of judgment over you, they need to prove themselves to you as well. All right, so that storyline of this being a job process, like a hiring process, that can also apply when it comes to relationships, right? It feels like you are being put in a position where it seems like you're supposed to prove yourself, and yet someone else, something else has a lot to gain from you committing. Tell me about this Princess of Wands. This is interesting. Very different message from the other readings. We have the Four of Swords. Ooh. Listen, there are things that you are capable of. Oh, okay. See, this is coming in so strong. There are things that you are capable of that you are not even aware of yet. There are strengths that you have. Somebody is recognizing that you are a diamond in the rough. And so they think they are going to get a deal. They are going to get a bargain because you are a diamond in the rough. There are skills, there are powers that are dormant within you. Oh my goodness, I'm just seeing that on my windowsill. There's a spider chilling right there, just making a little web. And that feels significant, so I had to share. Let's keep going. That spider, you know, creating a web is being aware of your surroundings. Always be aware of your surroundings and always be aware of threats around you. And always be aware of where are people plotting. And I'm not trying to make you paranoid, absolutely not. But it is important that you understand your market value. No matter what we're talking about, no matter what area of life we're talking about, it is important that you understand your market value. Tell me about this Temperance card. All right, you can't make up your mind. I will take that. That was so hesitant. And see, that's why I don't trust this. There's something else at play. The Temperance card can represent higher forces at play, and it's about balance. But to me, somehow the energy in this reading is telling me that there's something that it's almost like there's, specifically because this kind of looks like a scale, right? It's almost like you're being weighed against something, but you don't know what you're being weighed against. And you might think, oh, I'm just being weighed against, I'm taking this very metaphorically, okay? You might think, I'm just being weighed against aluminum. So random, right? It's like me against aluminum. But that's not it. It's you against gold. It's you against gold. And so that is to say that your worth is being estimated by correlating it to something that is very, very sorry, I'm struggling to find the word, that is very prestigious. And you're not even aware. You're a diamond in the rough in some capacity, whether that is the business that you have, the product that you have, the knowledge that you have, the skill that you have, the insight that you have, the kind of love that you have. There's something where it's like what you have got to offer is very prestigious. So don't let anyone take that from you and give you less than what you're worth in return, right? Tell me about the Moon card. We have the Six of Cups. Ooh, okay, this taking us back. All right, in the world. See, oh, this is beautiful. Okay, this is a lesson in self-worth. I don't care what this is about. This is a lesson in self-worth, whether this is a job interview or whether this is you trying to sell your product. Do not undersell yourself, because you are being led to believe that, oh yeah, we're interested. I mean, maybe, yeah, that's maybe something that we're interested in. No, they're very interested. Whoever is recognizing this is extremely interested. But there's this idea of like, oh, but there's a lot of moving parts in the air, quite literally, and we have a lot of other offers on the table. So, you know, I mean, if you're gonna do this, maybe if we bring the price down a little bit. No. Know your worth. This is an emotional lesson for you to really stand by your worth and to not let the tension of someone else having the power of decision, don't let that influence your market value, because they do not have the power to determine your market value. You have the power to determine your value, right? This is something that is connecting to deep roots of what am I worth? How, like there's a lot of, with the Six of Cups, there's a lot of emotional history with the Six of Cups in combination with the moon. There's a lot of history here when it comes to perhaps in the past as a child or as a teenager, not feeling connected, not feeling appreciated, not feeling like you are being valued. And so then when you're in competition and somebody actually recognizes your value off the bat because they can tell that this is a diamond in the rough, I'm getting like Shark Tank vibes, and somebody being like, oh, I can make money off of what they are able to do. And again, it's a metaphor. It doesn't have to be specifically like that. But this whole process is a lesson for you to understand that you cannot sell yourself short. That's why we have the World at the bottom of the deck here, because this is a lesson. But the World also indicates to me that you are invaluable. You cannot be measured up against something else, because you are one of a kind. And I think there's a lot of power that is dormant within you, and once you recognize that and tap into that, you're not going to depend on the judgment or employment of anyone else, right? Okay, now let me dial it back just a little bit, because the idea of like, oh, there's some person that wants to get more out of you, it can be a little paranoid, right? We want to dial it back. Let's bring it back a little bit more grounded, bring it back to us. When I bring this back to just us, this row right here has a lot to do with the idea of expectations of, well, if I'm so talented, why has nothing happened? Why has nothing come to me? And I feel like there's definitely an air of non-commitment here in general, whether that's from an outside source or from yourself, because there are, I think, the expression of having a lot of irons in the fire, right? There's a little bit of scattered attention here, where it's like you're not really focusing in on one thing, which honestly is not an issue for me, because I love a multi-passionate person. And I think that we have a lot to gain from trying things and experimenting and being curious and in everything. And so if you are having trouble with judging yourself for never completing anything or never finishing anything or never, that's just a sign of those things. They scratched your brain for a little bit, and then you mastered it, or you didn't get the satisfaction that you had hoped out of it, and so you dropped it. That's not a sign of you not being able to commit. That's more so a sign of you having gotten what you needed out of it, okay? There's definitely some insecurity issues that are under the surface here that have a lot to do with, I don't have anything to show for. My resume is not that great, whether it's literal or metaphorical, but it's this idea of like, I don't really have that much to show for. That's not true. That's not true. You got a lot, and you got a lot that you haven't even tapped into. But most of all, you're bold. And that's, honestly, that's half the jig. That is half the jig. Okay, let's get some energies on this. Also, for some reason, now that I'm in the midst of your reading, I feel like I'm so hungry. I feel like I just want to tear into a giant burger. And that to me speaks of your hunger, of like, I'm willing and I want to show up and I want to do. And it's just, there's a lot of commitment. And I'm telling you, somebody is going to recognize that. Somebody is going to see that, and they're just going to recognize, ooh, there's a source of like high energy and like high output, and I can use that for myself. I mean, if they compensate you, sure. But we are not giving ourselves away for under market value, okay? All right. You know what I just kind of have to mention this right quick before I jump into these. There has been a lot of conversation recently. I don't know if you have been paying attention to the media strikes. So the writer strike and the actor strike that is happening in Hollywood. Because these are organized by official unions, there are very clear limitations and boundaries and contracts around what can happen, what kind of work are you allowed to do during a strike. Now, the media companies, I know this is going to sound random, but trust me, stay with me. The media companies, of course, still have to churn out their promotional stuff, right? And so there's been a lot of conversation around influencers, and influencers are not not actual unionized actors. And so the conversation has been, what can influencers take part in? Because these media companies that are still trying to push out their promotional stuff cannot use the actors that they typically would hire for, you know, interviews or just any kind of promotional stuff. And so they are turning to influencers, and they are offering influencers like, hey, you can do this super cool gig and we'll give you, you know, an enormous amount of money. You want to do that? Well, that is called scabbing. If that influencer commits to that, that's considered crossing a picket line. That is scabbing. And that is very frowned upon, and it is it's kind of like killing your career before it's even begun. Okay, you don't want to be caught scabbing, especially not in the media industry, because you get blacklisted. Now, that being said, that is a little bit, that I'm saying that for a reason, because that is a little bit of this like kind of mysterious energy that's coming in over here. It's this idea of you not being fully aware of how someone else is profiting or benefiting off of your engagement or your contractual obligation, right? So you just really want to make sure that you are fully aware, because to you, this kind of situation might seem like, oh my God, they want me to be a part of this. This is really exciting, and it's making me feel seen, and it's making me feel like I'm worth something. But in reality, there's some kind of situation that is like, it's just not quite kosher, okay? So just something to be aware of. Not saying that necessarily exactly that kind of scenario is going to happen, but that's just kind of the theme, the energy feels along those lines of, there's something where if you give yourself to this kind of contract or something, it feels like you're not fully aware of all of the ramifications, of all of the impact that it has, versus the other party being extremely aware of it, okay? Now, getting to the dice, we have the 4th house, we have Aquarius, and we have the North Node. So in terms of the lesson, that's where we're at. The fact that the 6 of Cups came out, last card out here with the moon, and I was talking about this is very deep-rooted, emotional, tapping into certain emotional insecurities or emotional conditioning. That is the 4th house. The 4th house is the house of home life. It is the house of family, but it is also your most rooted self. It is you at home on your own. It is the house of ancestors and family. It is all the things that have conditioned you to be who you are at the most base level, right? It is your roots. And in Aquarius, that is that energy of you are very different. You have something that is very unique and different, and it stands out from the rest. North Node indicates that this is part of your path. Taking this journey and doing it your way and staying true to yourself is part of your path, okay? Now, let's get you an oracle card. We're going to pick an archetype card to get an idea of what Spirit thinks you should be embracing in order to get you through this in the most aligned way, in the most in the best way. I was flirting with the word effortless, but I don't know, that's not really it. Because doing it the right way doesn't necessarily mean effortless, right? Okay, one archetype card for group 3, how to move through this energy. We have the Fool, interesting. Ooh, this says, fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. I feel like entertainment vibes are very strong in your reading in general, but also what I think with the Fool is very interesting. Look at, we have Dilettante at the bottom of the deck. That was talking about, that's connecting to the idea of having your hands in everything and all kinds of different things, right? But the Fool card to me in this context is actually talking about using your inexperience as a way to kind of bargain in a clever way. Here's what I mean. The Fool is, historically speaking, the jester at court, and the jester will play the fool. The jester plays dumb, but the jester is not dumb. In fact, the jester, historically speaking, is one of the smartest people at court, because the jester is always privy to all the things that are going on, and is actually typically was one of the most trusted sources to the king to advise, because the jester was able to use humor in a way to be very straightforward and very direct. And that, remember I told you that you're very straightforward? There is this directness that you can kind of use, as you can kind of cloak yourself in this directness, in this naivete, to be like, oh, wait, well, how much are the others being paid? And other people might be, sorry, there's a lot that's trying to come out, and my mouth is having a hard time keeping up. Other people would maybe be in that situation and be like, oh no, you can't ask that kind of question, that's rude. Like, no, use your straightforwardness, use your brazenness, right? Use that to your advantage, to get the information that you don't have, to get the information that is somehow being kept from you. Make sure you have all of the information, and you can get that by playing the fool. But you're not the fool, right? You're playing the part of like, oh, I know you want me to dance. You know what? I know how to dance. I'll dance a little, but you're gonna tell me what I want to know. This is using the Fool energy as leverage, okay? Fearlessly revealing emotions, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. I love that. Now, let's get you any last oracle card, any last advice or insight for group 3 on this journey. This is really interesting. I would love to know. I got one already, but this feels kind of, it just kind of like fell out. I would love to know in the comments how this applies, if it resonates, because this can be so many different things, and I feel like there's definitely an angle here that I'm not catching, as in the way that it could apply. But yeah, so we have Ritual. Let me get one more for group 3, and we have Nourish. Yes. Okay, closed mouths don't get fed. That just came through so strongly, especially with this Fool. Sometimes you gotta ask, or you gotta step in it. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes you gotta step in it, even if other people tell you like, oh, no, don't ask that, or no, don't say that. Like, no, No. Sometimes closed mouths don't get fed, okay? And there's something about you that's very straightforward, that's very brazen. Keep that. Keep that. Do not suppress that for anyone. Again, if we are talking about relationships, this has to do with someone who maybe has made you jump through hoops, and you found that kind of engaging, right? You found that engaging in a way where it was like, oh, this is interesting, because it's difficult for things to keep your engagement, to keep your attention. Well, you got to make sure that if you're jumping through hoops for them, are they going to jump through hoops for you? okay? Because you deserve to be nourished. You deserve to receive in a, I wanted to say equal, but I'm hearing the word equity, especially with Aquarius energy. I'm hearing equity for some reason. But you deserve to receive what you give. This has to be a compatible agreement, right? And especially with ritual, I'm just getting kind of the sense of receiving on a regular basis. So make sure of any terms of any kind of agreement, right? Whether that is a work situation or whether that is within a romantic relationship. We got to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we all have the information that we need to make any kind of commitments. Okay. Now, I'm going to get you one last oracle card, and this one is we're going to read this one from the book. For group 3, one last oracle card, anything, whoop, the perfect key. Okay, let's read it. That is number 29. Fun fact, this is the card that in this deck comes out the most. I have no idea, it's just my collective. Okay, the perfect key, happiness, encouragement, and unlock feelings. This card shows a woman holding a key in one hand and a cage with a heart in the other. There is a bird sitting on the woman's shoulder, encouraging her to try different keys with his mouth. Yet the woman has already found the perfect fitting key. She can open the cage and open her heart. Sometimes life is only a search for the right key. There are so many things that are hard for us to approach. We can have trouble accessing our own feelings. Thanks to friends and family, there are people who can help us find the lost keys to our personal happiness. Here's what I think is really important about this in connection with this spread is that there is a bird that says, oh, I have the key that you need. They don't even know what key it is. They don't know what key you need, but they just have a random collection of keys and they're like, oh yeah, I got what you need, but you need me. You need me to unlock this. No, you don't. You already have the key, okay? That's exactly the situation where somebody is telling you, oh yeah, here, jump through these hoops and I'll give you the key. I don't know which one it is, but I have the key. I have the key. No, they don't. You have the key. In fact, you are the key. You are the key. And so you deserve to be compensated the way that one would be compensated when you are the integral part of the entire operation. I know I sound angry, but I feel very strongly about this. You are integral. This cannot happen without you. You have dormant powers, and it is time that you use them, that you recognize them. You do not need anyone else to validate your powers, right? That's where this insecurity, there's a deep-rooted insecurity of feeling the need to have your powers validated by someone else, having your abilities validated by someone else. You do not need that. And if you do, congratulations, I'm here to validate them. You are extremely powerful and you are extremely refreshing and you are entertaining and you are engaging. What are they offering you? Whoever they is, what are they contributing? Structure? A stage? Okay. Pretty sure you could do that on your own as well. But that's just my opinion. Okay, that's not spirit, that's just me talking. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. You're a badass, don't forget it. Yeah. I hope it resonates and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.